What is it like with no illusion? Hell is a very expensive place to be in because it just does not fit right and is another dream from which the self must be a backdrop drone in co-creating. Now, isn't this a grand illusion? It could never really stay within its body long enough and always found a means from which to exit, either through sabotage, other dramas, traumas from it, a formal disobedience to its cause, in that it could never really play, and by the same rules, just how could they possibly apply? What's considered normal that people don't like and take for granted even. To be straight, for one thing. To be white is another. That's now becoming a minority. But we're starting to accept each other for each race, for each species, and we know that love does not discriminate all these things. Granted, we have preferences, what we want to be intimate with, and not really exclude. That's just an immature thing to exclude. But at the same time, it empowers us in groups and tribes, and it makes us feel that we belong. And we reward and we hold back and we do all these things that we should just allow each other to be and accept each other in the here and now for what we are. And if we have something to offer, great. If we don't, then there'll be other times where we will. And not to try and steal each other's thunder. Like, okay, if I have something to offer, don't try to expect it out of me like a tip and say, oh, you have to give this to me, or I'm gonna make you sick through the food or spit in something, or if you don't give me this tip and this whatever. No, it should be out of my own heart that I actually, in all honesty, want to give to you. Not something that you are coercing me into like a thug and saying, well, I have to do this, and make me feel shameful and upset and really bad. I had this happen to me with the cleaning of my car. I paid whatever it was, $20 to clean the outside. I didn't want the inside messed with. And the first thing the guy does is see how he can take me for more money and leave the outside dirty, and then say that would be an extra 50, whatever. And I said, Raphael, oh no you don't. In order to make money, that this is what we can do, you can have all the glory and all the credit, all the sponsorship, all the support, and be completely incompetent. You can have all the equipment, and like I had with my tooth, and then it's never their fault, it's my fault. See? So the whole thing is, for everybody, our health comes first. Our wealth is in our health. Anything more is just people pleasing. And what would we be doing it for? The best investment we can make is in ourselves, and then everything else. Welcome. I'm so glad that you can join me here today. 800. Welcome. I'm so glad that you can join me here today. 360. Lesson 314. Pages 836 and 37. On what is it like with no illusion? These are excerpts from The Sovereign Light, named after my ministry. And this is a course in metaphysical spirituality. And my name is Reverend Maria Arvanitidis. How do you do? So let's take a few deep breaths in and out. Ground and center. Find that inner peace, inner stillness in the eye of the storm. Ground, and with every breath from your heart space center, anchor and breathe, ripple out into your holographic field. Lesson 314. I do not expect the hooks from density that weigh me down to care. Instead, I will rise up to cut these cords and only care for me. I will not settle with a swarm that does not draw to persuade in that of my direction. I have felt the loss and lost so many times before, and somehow, somewhere, the pheromones just might not be meant for such recruiting. Intoxicated and asleep is the unconscious, irresponsible, and needing to be told exactly what to do because there is no independent thinking. To be outside of the hive mind, everything must be in submission to follow through the order because hell could not have agreed to the self-existence and in any other kind of way when refusing to abide by its restrictions. So the more we're able to subordinate ourselves to the system, the more it empowers us, in other words. And yes, it's true. For the most part, I have witnessed that, but we have to have this thing, a lot of these tools, spiritual tools in our toolbox. One thing you notice, do we hold grudges? Do we hold regrets? Or do we automatically just forgive and say, okay, that's a lesson, okay. And just because one person messed up, we gotta keep giving them chances because through them we learn just how far we've come. And now, page 837. I do not expect the hooks from density that weigh me down to care. Instead, I will rise up to cut these cords and only care for me. To compromise the well-being over money is a contradiction to its very life force. It was unable to remain for long enough in such a falsehood and to bear with any self-sobriety in this way of expression and contribution for others. To please others at the detriment of itself was like the undertow that would have taken it only to eject it right back out. So it reminds me of all these borders that kind of are in the same, well, that's what I kind of right now am reminded of. And here I am in Chatham. Okay, let's continue on. So the illusion does not have to be, and yet everything does derive into reality from first being an illusion. Illusion can exist, be made real, and for the self, through consciously aware decisions, to choose and or create with not having to compromise. Compromise for any. I was having a hard time with that word. Compromise. Why is it that we have to feel we have to compromise and sacrifice in order to feel that we fit in? Well, you know, sometimes people have it right about not being part of any tribe. But once you find a partner, then it happens anyway, naturally. So for those people who are warriors of light, maybe they don't see it in that way. So that's fine too. But we're still in the same path, getting there, and we're all in this together. All right. So let's continue on with not having to compromise for any. Yes, well, that it does. It holds truth, and that reality comes in many levels before it can impress upon the physical. Eventually, the illusion does not have to be at all, and as part of the equation to create and have materialize within the physical reality. Well, maybe we think of something that might feel good, and then in the next moment, it might not. And when we carry on our thoughts into trying to make things real, it kind of distorts and it changes. And so these are the variables, the variations. So I think the best thing to do is follow your heart, go with your heart, let the heart be in the driver's seat, how you feel, how does this make you feel. But then we step out of this moment when we start thinking about this fitting in process and where we belong. And that's where we get into situations. Yes, we do get into stagnations, but that doesn't mean that we have to travel this existence as one. We are one, we are all, okay? But still, we do want to have and partner up and do all these things. Why not? So, I suppose that's a different level of thinking than that lower level of procreating and family units that, you get together and then you create tribes and community. And yes, it does feel like you're growing all together. And what one might consider normal, the other might not. So this is where the compromise comes in. And where we have to compromise. Okay, that's fine. But you don't have to be in it alone. Annihilated, that's the word that's coming to mind. When you're outcasted, sure, that's fine. So there's nothing wrong with that, yes. But that's not the way. That doesn't always have to be the way. I mean, yeah, we do feel like we want to belong and things like that, but it should unfold in an organic way, and it doesn't, because we live in a very dark, magical world. And there's only so much light to go around because we're not allowing it to come through. And that's okay too. So it is a lonely path. And we do feel that suffering of this loneliness. And there's nothing wrong with that either. That's growth. That's alchemy. That's alchemy that we have to release. And sometimes these blockages do feel that way. So okay. This has been a blast. And so let's carry on. The purpose is to wake up and from the nightmare of the dysfunction for having to be compromised in such a way and that actually had once before disabled the self completely. Let's carry on. Okay. Only compromise creates illusions. Does it really? Does it have to be that way? I don't think so. So because what the self might prefer, another part might not, and for that other part, it holds for an illusion to accept such compromise. So I really look forward to seeing you again, and here I am in Corazon, the actual Mayan site of the people. And I don't know, Mexico was just another compromise that, was it a foolish thing? I don't know. But, we got to carry on and move forward and see where the next adventure is going to take us. I do not expect the hooks from density that weigh me down to care. Instead, I will rise up to cut these cords and only care for me. So, in the remembrance of pleasing others and compromising, this is the thing. People can't relate unless they identify. And when we identify, we're identifying with mirrors, yes, correct. But at the same time, it's good to have relations. It gets an electrical the currency, our economy, everything. So how is it that we can be in a positive, like we're special, rather than special needs or all these other things that we have to see as mental illnesses and you have, name it. It's just people's preferences. This is who they are, authentically. And there's very special, magical components to us accepting the reality of ourselves and who we are, so that we can work together. And so this is what was discussed before. Necessarily, no, it's not an identity. This is who we are. And if you want to identify us as that, there's nothing wrong with that. But why should we consider it a dysfunction? Okay, is lesbian an identity? Here we go. All right. So, I mean, when you have to live a life like that and the rest of the world doesn't accept you unless you think you have a mental illness, that's disgusting. Oh, I feel it in my stomach. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So let's not go there. Lesson 314. I do not expect the hooks from density that weigh me down to care. Instead, I will rise up to cut these cords and only care for me. I do not expect the hooks from density that weigh me down to care. Instead, I will rise up to cut these cords and only care for me. Expect the hooks from density that weigh me down to care. Instead, I will rise up